Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you a requested video on how to cut this stylish gown with a side gathers. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I've gone ahead to mark my basic measurement, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, now shoulder to waistline, and to get your hip point is 7 inches or 8 inches from your waistline. And I'm using the length of the pattern paper to get my full length of this dress. So you can use your desired dress length. So I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2, and I'll come down by 1 inch, and I'll be drawing my shoulder slope. So my shoulder is 14 inches divided by 2. I have 7 inches. To find my chest line, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. To make sure it's 7 inches I have on that point, I'll remeasure, place my ruler, and I'll draw out a straight line. So now I'm going to mark my shoulder divided by 2 at this point again, and I will connect. This is to make sure I have a straight line at that point. I will divide my armhole into 2, mark, and come out by ½ inch. Go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 at this point. Now I'll connect from that point. I marked my bust circumference divided by 4 to the ½ inch at the armhole and to the upper part of my shoulder. So this will just serve as a guide. We will not really be needing this. So the next step you're going to take is to mark your nipple to nipple point divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead to mark this all the way to the hip point. And to get your hip point, just like I said, is 7 inches or 8 inches if you're taller. You're just going to mark it, and I'll mark a straight line there indicating my hip point. And after I'm done marking that, I'll go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2 also on that point. So that will serve as a guideline when we are marking out our darts. I'll place my ruler and I'll go ahead to connect, drawing a straight line. And after I'm done drawing that, I'll be marking my dart intake of 1 inch at both sides of my under bust and at my waist. So if you're a plus size or you're a bit busty, you'll be using 1.5 inches at both sides. So I'll come down by 4 inches after my waistline, and I'll go ahead to connect the rest of my pattern and also connect the lower part of my pattern this way. Now I'll connect from my bust down to my under bust and also repeat it. So I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline this. After outlining my pattern, the next step is to go up by 1.5 inches at the upper part. So this totally depends on what you want to use at that point. If you want yours to go up a bit, you can use 2 inches or 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and still mark that 1 inch on both sides of my pattern, and I will be connecting it this way and also connect the other side. So after that, I'll just go ahead to use my marker to mark that out before we can go ahead to insert our body measurements to this pattern. And now I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance to it at once. Here I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure and add my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add my sewing allowance. At the hip, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4, and I will be adding my sewing allowance. So whatever you have on the hip, that is what you're going to take to the lower part of this dress. Why? Because you're going to be having a gathered effect at the side of your dress. So there's no need to make it a penciled dress. So for your sewing allowance, you can use 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So this is a drafting or pattern illustration, so that's why I did not add much sewing allowance to this. So I'll just go ahead and connect this all the way down and use my marker to mark it out. So while recording this part of my video, I did not realize that my camera was not recording. So I'll just go ahead and explain what I did. So starting from the waistline of my pattern, I measured 2 inches down, and from that 2 inches I connected it all the way to this point, and after my nipple to nipple line, which is here, I came out by 1 inch. So my nipple to nipple point is 3.5 inches, and taking out 1 inch from it, I'll be left with 2.5. So I took that 2.5 inches all the way down to the lower part of my dress. So because of the gathers at the side of this dress, we are going to use a slash and spread method for this dress. So I have a video on my second channel which I made a dress with a side gather. So I'll be leaving this on my screen so that you can just go ahead and check it out. So from this part, I'll measure 1 inch and I'll go ahead and take it all the way down, and I'll just go down a bit after my bust point. But if you don't want to reveal your cleavage, just stop above your bust point. So I'm just going to connect this and connect it down to my to my chest line this way. So at this part, you want to create your sleeve. So at the end of the video, I'll be explaining how to get that ruffle on the sleeve, but I'm just going to mark this out to show that we have a sleeve at this point. So I'll just show you how to create that ruffle sleeve at the end of this video. So after you're done sewing, you want to go ahead and cut out this stylish collar or whatever you call it on top of your dress this way. So this is what I have at this point, and also at the center, after joining it, you're going to be attaching your button on that point. So after this, I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern. And with this, we are done cutting out the front pattern. If you have any question, please don't forget to also leave it at the comment section. Leave your comment at the section also. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button and also join us in our other videos. And if you don't know that we have a second channel, which is Marky's Closet, where I do both sewing and drafting tutorials, please also go down there and subscribe. So after I'm done cutting out, this is what I have. I will be using a slash method for this part. Moving over to the back pattern, I've gone ahead to mark my basic measurement just like we did for the front. The only difference here is that we have a zipper at the back, and for my zipper I used 1.5 inches for the zip. So the next step you're going to take after this is just to go ahead to mark your nipple to nipple point, because we are trying to mark our dart at this point. And all your measurement is going to start immediately after the zipper line. So I'll just go ahead and mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and after that I'll just place my ruler and I will draw a straight line, and I'll connect that all the way to the lower part of this pattern, which will stop at the hip. And after that, I'll just go ahead and mark 1/2 inch at both sides of your pattern and come down by 1 inch from the bust point. So after that, I'll just go ahead and connect this up and also take this up. Now I'll be marking 4 inches after my waist, and I'll extend my dart all the way down and also repeat it at the other side of my pattern. The next step from here is to insert my body measurements. So I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. At the hip point, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll add a sewing allowance. So remember, for this pattern, you're going to also add the sewing allowance that you want. So just because I'm doing a drafting illustration, I didn't add much sewing allowance to my pattern. And whatever you have on the hip part of your pattern, you're also going to take it all the way down to the length of the dress. So I'll just go ahead and draw and connect. So this is what I have after I'm done marking this, and we're going to go ahead to alter this pattern to get the dress or design we want. So I came down by 2 inches from my waist. Now I'll just extend my curve and come out by 1 inch just like we did for the front, and I will be measuring what I have left. From there, I'm just going to take it down. So remember, we came out 1 inch away from our nipple to nipple point. So whatever your nipple to nipple is divided by 2 minus 1 inch and take it all the way down. So I'll just go ahead and cut this. And also remember, for the back pattern, we are also going to use a slash and spread method. For easier way of sewing it, I left a guide, or I left a picture of a video on my other channel where I made a similar dress on how to join the gathers or make the dress. So I'm just going to go ahead and slash this, because this dress is actually, you're actually going to use a slash and spread method to get the gathered or gathers effect at the side of the dress. So this is what I have after I'm done cutting out. So at the waist, I'll just mark 1/2 inch. This is to take care of the bulginess at the back, so that the back will be relaxed because there's no bust at the back. So I'll just go ahead and take this all the way down, and also take it to the upper part of my chest line this way. And after that, I'll measure 1/2 inch after my nipple to nipple point and measure 1 inch up, and then I'll take it all the way up, take it all the way to the other side of this pattern. So this is what I have after I'm done drafting out, and I'll just go ahead to cut this out. And at the end of the video, I'll be sharing with you or showing you how to create the ruffle effect on the dress at the sleeve part. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also join us in our other tutorials. So after cutting out, I'll slash out this part that we also use for the slash and spread method. So going over to the sleeve of the dress, so we'll be using this as the main fabric. So the width should be at least up to 4 inches, and the length up to 30 or more to create more ruffle. So you have to measure what you have from your front shoulder to your back. So this center one will be serving as an elastic. So what you will do is to go ahead to pin an elastic at the upper part of your dress, and then you're going to go ahead to sew your fabric, like use your fabric to cover it, and then you're going to place it, join your fabric together. You're going to be stitching it with 1/2 inch or top stitch it, or you can just go ahead to sew your sleeve. After sewing it, you insert an elastic inside it. So after you're done inserting the elastic inside it and you're done stitching it, what you're going to do now is to go ahead and take the elastic and drag it. You're going to drag the elastic at the center of the dress, so it's going to create that ruffle effect. So this pattern paper is not actually moving because it's very stiff and it can't move. So after that, you'll be having a ruffle. So when you get a desired length of sleeve, you just go ahead and cut it out, top stitch it, and then you attach it to your dress.